there's no right or wrong of what people want because it's their life. I mean, I have to remind people at times that it's like, guys, gals, there's only one human being whose actions you control.
Huh?
Your own.
Todd McFarlane, it is so good to see you. It's almost been a month since the last time I talked to you. How have you been, sir?
I've gotten a month older, like you, and just pace my way through life, right? Just you. When I was younger, I was way more enthusiastic. I thought everything was a battle and everything was a sprint. And then as time goes by, you pick your places of where you're going to expend your energy because tomorrow's another day and you got to be ready. So I've honed the skill of being ready for war at any given time because I'm not at war all the time, but I'm ready for it. Right. So that basically means that there's a problem with your company. A situation comes up. Something happens where you're dealing with the corporation and there's a problem. I mean, basically life gets in the way, and you don't want to be going, full throttle all the time because tomorrow might be a heavier lift. So I try to maintain until I go. Now, here's where I put my energy.
Absolutely. Well, Todd McFarlane, you are a general, sir. If this is a war, you are a general commanding an army. Your stuff is amazing. I got to ask you, man, I haven't seen you since Comic-Con. You made a lot of big announcements in San Diego. One of those was the Batman, the box set, the 6-figure box set. I've been trying to buy that box set for the longest time. It's been sold out. When am I going to get a chance to get my hands on that box set again?
We don't generally put out product, and if it's successful, then go, oh my God, we should go make more. Because I think, part of collecting and building sort of loyalty back and forth with your fan base is, I think there's a couple of reasons why people buy anything. One, they just like it personally.
Oh, yeah.
And two, they hope that it has maybe some value to it, right? And so our job is to, first and foremost, put out a quality product that we hope they like. And then if we do something that happens to have more demand than supply, that is sort of the, sort of business 101, how prices go up. And so our job isn't to counter that by saying, oh my God, let's go make more of it. Our job is to go, well, we got our commerce. Somebody else is going to make more. I've never begrudged anybody, Joseph, from taking something and buying something for $10 of anybody's, but even mine, and selling it for $100. Like, cool, right? I mean, we live in a free market. We live in a world in North America of commerce. So I do it. I make commerce and I make money. Why would I begrudge anybody else from making it? I've had this conversation with athletes, pro athletes, right? I go to shows, and when I'm at shows, I give my autograph away, and they're charging money, and their attitude is, and you've heard this one before, like, well, if I charge $25, they sell it for $50, and I'm going, well, exactly. Here's the problem. Number one, I've got a longer line than you, and you're way more popular than I am. And the only reason is because you're charging $200 and I'm free. Right. So, because sometimes the athletes, when I'm at shows that are intermixing, even TV celebrities, they're like, man, why has that guy got such a big lineup? And it's like, because I'm free. Right? What are you talking about? Go to the grocery store and they're giving out free samples. You don't even have to like it, but you'll take a bite of it.
Sure.
But the thing is that I go, look at, if you charge 20, they're gonna put it out in the open market for 40. If you charge if you charge 40, they're gonna charge 100. If you charge 100, they're gonna charge 200. There's no number that you're gonna stop this, right? You're gonna get less people, but you're not gonna stop it. And so I don't know, Mr. Athlete who's getting paid $20 million a year. I don't know why you're so worried about somebody making $100, right? Like if I would argue that if you let them make $100, you gave them an autograph. If you did 2 days a year where you said, I'm a big athlete, I'm just going to sign for free. And even if every single one of those people, which they won't, but if every one of those people then decided to flip your autograph, they'll love you even more.
Sure.
Because you were able to get it for free. They sold on eBay for $150. They're going to give you the credit for putting $150 in their pocket. So they'll like you more, and they made $150 while you were making 22 million. Okay. I don't know. It's interesting talking to various people about sort of how they interact with their community and what's important to them and what's not. Right. All of us have a career, Joseph, because of our fan base.
Sure.
Period. That's period. And to have any blockage or disdain or aggravation because of those people who put food on our table, to me is just I don't understand it. I just don't have that mentality. I understand every single day that anybody that comes up to me and says something nice or wants an autograph or something, I understand that they somewhere along in their life have given me some of their hard-earned money.
Sure.
And that should not be taken for granted. That should be I think that the loyalty goes both ways. So I do comic books. I'm the only one in the industry at $2.99. So could I go to $3.99 like everybody else, or $4.99 like a bunch of other books? Sure, I could. Who's that benefit? I don't know who it benefits. Sure. It benefits me. I'm doing okay. Don't worry about it. I'm good. Right? My kids are out of the house and they've gone to college, so I don't have to save for them. Right? So we're I don't know. And if it means that I can save, I mean, it seems small and insignificant. If I can save $1 for every one of my readers, okay, why not? Why not? If I don't need it, why don't I let them keep the $1? Because then they can go buy a chocolate bar with it or something. Why shouldn't they get the benefit of it? Anyway, that's just me. Anyway,
no, this is honestly why I love talking to you, because like I was telling you about your figures, I love them so much because the quality is there for such a great price point. I literally am spending all weekend building a display case specifically to display your figures that I've bought over the course of the last couple of years, because I collect all of the live action DC characters. Now you got me collecting all the DC characters, mind you, because like that Riddler that you just put out, the classic Riddler is gorgeous. And that's like the Riddler from my childhood. So now you got me going back. Nightfall Batman, are you kidding me? That looks beautiful. So like all these figures that I'm starting to collect now for such a great price point look like such great pieces of art, just like straight up art in my, in my office. So like, it's amazing what you do.
Look, here's the thing about the fans like yourself and or consumers. You guys get to decide what is good for you. Period. We can market and we can do announcements and whatever else. But at the end of the day, the consumer still basically gets to pick what they want. And so for some people, they would rather have something that's $60, one item, $60, and maybe is, a cut above in terms of the quality. Okay, I get it. Other people say, that's not really my thing. I'd rather have 3 figures at $20 a pop. Same $60. I'm not saying one's any better than the other. And we do a wide range, especially when you factor in the statues where they can get up to $200, $300, $400, right? Or so we do everything, and we've done everything, especially in the toy industry, from $5 to $500, right? And so my expectation is never that anybody is a completist and they're going to buy all of it. My business attitude is I am just a buffet of creative products. And I put all the buffet out during the course of a year. And then you and anyone else comes along and you have your tray and it's your money. You're the one paying for it. You get to pick whatever it is that you want and put it on your tray at checkout. right? And it's okay that you leave stuff behind. That's never my expectation. And there's no right or wrong of what people want because it's their life. I mean, I have to remind people at times that it's like, guys, gals, there's only one human being whose actions you control.
Huh?
Your own. And so I don't know if it was me, I'd go and do as much stuff that I enjoy as possible. And I'd spend my days doing stuff as much as possible that I enjoy. Right. And if there's some corner that you don't enjoy, if possible, just walk away from it.
Right.
Walk away from it. So I've been in this business now for almost 40 years, which is why I got gray now. And my response, and I rarely give it, but when I do give a response to any critic, is the same for 40 years. If they're in person, I gently tap them on the shoulder, and in a kind voice, I say, "You should probably spend your time and money then on things that you enjoy." I'm not offended. You don't like my stuff. You should go and spend your time and money on things you enjoy. Period. You can solve this angst that you have. Todd, I don't like your comic books. Oh, Todd, you're an ego. Oh, Todd, your toys are stupid. Oh, Todd, why don't you do? Oh, Todd, there's a way to do it. Go spend your time and money on things that you like.
I couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more.
Solved. But I can't force you to do that. I just I don't know why anybody, and honestly, I've said it before, I don't know why anybody wants to spend any 20-minute writing a dissertation about something they don't like.
Oh, I couldn't agree. This is why I love your toy line, Todd, because you like the way you described the buffet thing. That's exactly it. Like you're putting out so many things that I absolutely love. And it's crazy because it's so many things that spark my like childhood, like the superpower stuff or the Batman 6-inch stuff with the Build-A-Figure Condiment King. Are you kidding me? Of course I'm getting that. That's amazing. Like there's so many cool things that you guys are doing that are like hitting all of my like nostalgia chords in such a perfect way.
I mean, again, that's always been there. I'm in my early 60s now, and I still see stuff that transports me back to being 9.
Yeah.
And my thing is way different than yours because I was born in the 60s, right? So it wouldn't be the same. Sure. But everybody has that childhood fond memory stuff, right? Whether it's TV shows that you look at now that you go, man, that's kind of cheesy, but I loved it, right? The video games that you thought were the best ever, now you look at them, you go, man, that's cheesy, right? The toys you collected that you go, wow, those are kind of ugly, but we romanticize all these things from our childhood in our head. And then even when we see it and we now know intellectually it wasn't as good as what we thought, we still want to buy it again just to go, because I think it puts a smile on our face more than anything else. Right.
Yeah.
It was like, man, that was when I was 9 years old and all we did was hang out with our friends and do Evel Knievel jumps and I played with my brothers. Right. Done. Right. Like it was like, and we didn't quite understand death and taxes at that point. So that's okay. It's like, again, it doesn't matter how you find a little bit of joy in your life. And I think this is the piece that people who are not geeky don't understand that part. It's way more than just that item that they've got. It exudes a lot more than that. And if you're not doing it, you don't understand. There's sort of a silent understanding between us geeks, right? We get it.
Oh yeah.
And the rest of the world will just have to find their own sort of smiles, right? We're finding our smiles. You go find your smiles.
Right. Like I was in a Walmart just shopping randomly, went down the toy aisle. I saw Superpowers Superman, and I about freaked out because that was how I was introduced to Superman as an action figure when I was a kid. I immediately had to buy it. Like there was no question about it. I had to buy it. Now, my biggest thing though is I also bought the Batwing from you guys, and I got to figure out where it's huge. I got to figure out how to display that bad boy because that thing is a work of beauty. I love it. I absolutely love it. I do have a question for you though.
Last time that's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here. When we were in San Diego, we talked about some of the stuff I wanted to see. You gave a great answer saying that there's stuff that you want to see, there's stuff that Warner Brothers wants to see, and there's stuff that fans want to see. And you guys are all working together in order to get all that product out. What does it take to make the fans list take priority? What opportunities can you give us to make sure that to let you know that we absolutely want that product?
I think all three of those areas, whether it's a fan, whether it's, McFarlane Toys itself, or whether it's,
Warner Brothers
DC folks or Warner Brothers Consumer Products, that owns DC. There should be the one question that I think kind of should supersede, and there's caveats to what I'm about to say, but the one question is, can we sell this everywhere?
Right.
Now, again, if you're doing something that's exclusive or you're going to do something that's sort of in one or two sort of internet corners or whatever, you can get a lot more sort of specific and a lot more geeky. But if you're putting stuff out that's going to be out at quote unquote the masses, right, then you have to acknowledge, can I sell this in San Diego, North Dakota, Grand Forks, North Dakota, in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and in Boston, Massachusetts? I mean, it has to be everywhere. And because we're store wide and it's there, and we'll work because if it's just something that 12 people want, and I get it because they're a certain age. I mean, if you were to give me your top two priorities, they might not match another 100 people if I basically surveyed them. So what I have to do is look at all the list and say, does this sort of touch all three of those areas that make sense? And some of it is just current events, right? Like, again, you got a Blue Beetle movie, so you put up Blue Beetle toys. People go, I want Blue Beetle. They're not necessarily talking about a movie that came out 8 years ago, right? That comes in some of the lulls of when you've got product coming out, but there's no big events driving it, whether it's comics, TV, movies, video games, or whatever else. So I don't really give like undue weight to any of them. We just look at it and go, oh my God, why didn't we think of that?
Right.
That is a good one, and we can put it out there. And I think there'll be enough people, and that's really the key here, business wise. You just need enough. You don't need the whole world. You need enough people to consume your product so that it becomes worthwhile, and you have enough success that you can continue to keep doing that. This is the piece, Joseph, sometimes that people don't understand. And again, especially people who like the bellyache, and I've said before, I don't even really read comments, good or bad, because the product's done. Right?
Sure.
There's nothing I can do. But the consumer at times that comes in there doesn't understand that what we're doing is sort of global and international, and especially like when we were doing sports. Of course, the guy in Buffalo wants me to make football players for the Buffalo Bill, but I don't know I can sell that to the Seattle people,
sure,
or vice versa. So you're going, oh, okay. Who does everybody have on their fantasy football team?
Right.
They would know. Patrick Mahomes. Maybe I can sell Patrick Mahomes. Can't say that I know a bunch of Kansas City Chiefs fans, but everybody knows who Patrick Mahomes is. So maybe I got a chance, outside chance. The figures themselves kind of fall into those types of categories. And it's an inexact science. And we've been doing it with some success and some failures along the way.
That's how you learn, Todd. That's how you learn. You've been doing such a great job at it. I got to ask, because that it's so funny we're talking about this, but like when I saw those Batman and Robin reveals that you had, I forgot how good George Clooney looked in that bat suit. And I saw it in the 6-pack too that you have with those Batman. It looks great, man. Do you have any plans to further expand some of those early Batman films like a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman or Danny DeVito Penguin?
There's still characters we can mine. But sometimes you sort of take a swing in that 6-pack, that Batman, like that was a big swing. And so it's not like you have 25 others, not like sports where you've got 25 other people on the team. So I like that may be our top of the mountain and as the years go by, that may be one of the items, one of the products that people look to of going, oh man, I wish I was around then because that was super cool. Right. And again, maybe as time goes by, we might figure out how to do alternatives to it so we can get a few more out there, but not in the near future because it just, I don't think it's fair-minded.
Gotcha. Now, one thing that I absolutely love that you guys do is the way that you guys design and create monsters and aliens. I think that they like some of your designs, especially with the Spawn line, monster, even the DC stuff, the monsters and aliens just look so beautiful. Are there any plans to ever do any kind of original monsters and aliens from a McFarlane line?
Yeah, we're talking about it right now. Again, especially as our, next year is going to be our 30th anniversary for our toy company, and we broke in, and you seem like a young person. So you
41, Todd. I'm okay, old. I'm an old man.
So you were a kid. So you were a kid then when we came out, but we did a lot. We did a lot of cool monster stuff. If it's the one thing that's like a bit of a bummer. Was that there were so many of these kinds of stores that would take that, Todd, just come up with crazy stuff, put it in plastic form, we'll buy it, right? Things like, Twisted Oz and Twisted Christmas and Tortured Souls and some of our McFarlane Monster lines and the Movie Maniacs sort of came up from that, although those are branded items. But those stores were, KB Toys and Babbage's and Virgin Records and Tower Records and, these kinds of stores that unfortunately not only did not take the product, the majority of those ones I just talked about, they don't even exist.
Yeah, those brick and mortar places it's so crazy to mention those because I completely forgot about that.
The internet has picked up some of it, but the internet is so spliced up that everybody isn't looking. It's sort of like talking about your favorite TV show now. Everybody's got a different streaming show they're watching. And when you tell people what you're watching, the other person usually goes, oh, I never heard of that. Right. But at least with the brick and mortar, when everybody went to malls and people used to go to malls, that everybody sort of saw those same 4 or 5 stores over and over and over. And they liked to not compete with, at that time, Kmart, Toys R Us, Walmart, because then they would just get into pricing war. They didn't want to have the same items. So the thing that would light their eyes up is when I came in, I go, hey, I got these cool monsters, but they're a little bit too intense for Walmart and Toys R Us. They go, we'll take it, because they knew they could then mark it up a few extra dollars and not have to compete with the big giants down the street. But those opportunities, that easy layup that we used to be able to do all the time, doesn't quite exist at the same level, which is kind of a bummer, right? If there's any sort of, oh, darn it, over the 30 years, it's that those cool shops sort of went away.
Not only the monsters or aliens are high quality as well as your action figures, but some of the accessories. Like I bought a munitions pack. And that just to go with my Dark Knight Two-Face and a handful of other characters I have, and those things are great too. Are there any plans of doing accessories for or even dioramas like the Justice League table or the Batcave diorama or even the Batman armory from the Flash movie? Because your detail and quality is so amazing that I feel like it would be such a gorgeous thing to put on your shelf.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but we've talked about some of those, but again, there's still the big conversation of like, how many do we think we can sell, right?
Sure.
But if you're doing like a weapons pack, that can fit, because most of the hands are kind of, have sort of the same generic sort of sizing. That can fit 10 different lines we do.
Yeah.
So if you want to use it for that series of toys, fine, but you can also use it for this and this and this and this. So there's multiple uses for it, where if you did like you said, Justice League table, that fits for one sort of corner of segment over here. And can you do enough business with that one sort of niche item that makes it worth your time? Or you're better off doing just some cool, to your point, backdrop that you could put behind any of your figures, right? Some cool machinery or something like that, some armory or whatever behind there. So those are the things that we're constantly having internal creative conversations. And again, look at Joseph. You get it wrong sometimes, right? And you go, man, and somebody else comes up with something and you go, shoot, we missed that. But I'm going to tell you the two things that are sort of the most frustrating from a business point of view.
Sure.
One is when you have something and you thought it was going to work and it didn't, right? Because everybody just had their heart into it. And you're like, oh man, I just thought this was going to do way better than that. And it's just like, it's a bummer. And then you do a bit of analysis as to, and they're all educated guesses as to why it worked or didn't work. And then surprisingly, the other frustrating part is the opposite end of that, where you actually put something out, you thought you were going to do okay with it, and it blows up, and you kill it, and everywhere you put it out, it sells out, and you try to talk about why, and you don't know. And so that's the frustration, because you want to know what made lightning in a bottle strike so you can replicate it from a business point of view. And I could have the smartest people in my company, we're all sitting there, and we can take educated guesses, but really the answer is, I don't know, shoot.
Right.
Hopefully it'll happen again next year with another one of our brands. So dismal failure and sometimes extreme success are both head scratchers to us behind closed doors.
Now, I want to talk about you joining forces with Whatnot, because they're the leading live stream platform in the U.S. And for the first time ever, you're collaborating with them for an opportunity to bid on a piece of history, stuff from your booth from San Diego Comic-Con. Can you talk about some of the pieces that are going to be up for auction? I'm
not here to sort of give any clone reports one way or the other about Whatnot, because I've never done it. Right. So come back to me in 4-6 months and I'll have a lot more data and I'll be able to tell you. This is a complete unknown pool. Right. I've never done it, but I'm very curious as a creative person, and I'm curious as a business person how anything works, because my goal at the end of the day is to just engage and interact and get product out to as many people as possible. And so where are those outlets? Right. And so a couple of years ago, I sort of been paying attention to Kickstarter, and I was like, and then the pandemic came, and I go, hey, let's try it. What's the worst that can happen? Let's just try it and see what happens. Whatnot, again, I hear a lot of good things about it. People say there's a nice community about it, whatever. So there's lots of pluses when I've done sort of my investigation about it. And so this is a big experiment. I don't have any 4-year plans. I don't know what we're going to even sell the next time. What I'm going to do is go, why don't we try it? Why don't we go to this party called Whatnot? Let's see if there's any success that's there. And the success can come in way more ways than just money, right?
Right.
There was a big audience and they were paying attention. And for me, one of the big pieces that Whatnot said that was intriguing to me wasn't that you can make money, like whatever, is that there's a community and I can interact with the community. And for me, that's my personal goal, right? Because the more people you can interact with, the more people you can have a good time with, and that can get a piece of you, I think there's value there. So again, you said a month ago we were in San Diego, but there's at tops 100,000 people in that building, and the world is over 8 billion people.
Right.
So there was a fraction of 1% of the human beings on the planet that were there. The rest weren't. Right. I mean, I have this conversation about our social media channels. I go, man, I don't know if we should be doing so much sort of San Diego announcements, because that's only going to be the people that are going to be in that city, in that building during those 3 days. We're not talking to anybody else on the planet.
Right.
Right. When I do a post and I say, hey, here's a drawing, or here's our cover, or here's something, we're talking to everybody that supports us. And I'm trying to find ways to interact with everybody as much as possible. So Whatnot, we're going to find out whether it makes sense to continue to do this on a regular basis. I mean, that's everybody's hope, that we can find that happy outlet and just add it to all the other things that we end up doing. And, we're going to be doing our first live auction. And somebody was asking, like, oh, what are you going to offer? And what do you got? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I know what we're doing on the first auction. We took the booth and we designed it specifically so we could cut it up, because it just bugged me that we just make these banners, not just me, but dozens of other people that have booths at San Diego and New York and conventions. And then you throw out the banners. Like,
yes,
like it just seems like such a waste. When
I was just talking about this,
and people would go, oh my God, why are you throwing that out? Right. So it's like, well, let's not throw it out then. And so, again, for me, Whatnot is a way to do a little bit of commerce, but also raise money for charities, do giveaways, but more importantly, interact with a community on days in which we're not offering I don't want a penny from you. I just want to talk to you today. That's all I want to do, is let's just like socialize. Right.
Right.
And part of it is, Joseph, and I don't know. I mean, it may sound a little braggy here, but I've got a good life, and I don't need to chase the money like I did when I was younger. I don't need to chase my career. I can pay the bills. I'm good. So I don't need to use Whatnot the way that a lot of other people, that I'm assuming the vast majority of people do. Right. Sure. Which is okay. I'm not saying, like, God bless everybody. Coming from an atheist. So I want, my question to them is like, well, what else other than I can put something up and make a buck? Right. What else can we do? It's the other stuff that's way more important to me, and we're going to find out. So
I love that.
We're going to do the auction. I'm sure, because I have so much stuff hanging around my offices and in my warehouses stuff, that I'm sure that I'll be doing an auction on one item and then going, hey, I've got my hat here. I'm going to sign it. I've got 2 comic books. I'm just going to scoop stuff up and just go, and you're going to get this too. Like, here you go, freebie stuff.
I got this from you, right. San Diego, and this is going up and getting framed. Thank you so much, Todd.
Storyboard, like we have a lot of things that are part of the process of making toys and comics and some of the other mediums that we do that I don't think people ever get a chance to see. I always liked oddball stuff anyway. So yes, we'll do the obvious, right? We're going to do the obvious stuff, right? Yes. Will you be able to get signed comic books and trade paperbacks and toys? Yeah. That's the easy stuff. That's low hanging fruit. But what about like odd stuff? Here's a prototype, and it's, because the process, all they do is want me to check the joints, which is why this prototype of this character, unpainted, is made with 5 different colors.
Oh, wow.
Right? So either it's the most hideous thing you've ever seen, or it's kind of cool. And, it's sort of a one of a kind, right? At worst, a 2 of a kind. They send us 1 or 2 for me to approve. And if I approve it, then they start manufacturing the toy. So there's just stuff like, and so, like, I don't know, part of it's just a party. Hey guys, hey, how about this? How about this? How about this? And instead of getting drunk and doing shots, the shots are just going to be whatever I can scoop up and go, hey, who wants it? You know what? Matter of fact, let's just give this away, right? So, like, whatever. I don't know. It's going to be all the above, and I don't know how it's going to play out. That's the fun right now. That's the interest for me, is I'm stepping into a bit of the unknown, and I'll be a lot smarter and be able to be more specific about our plans 6 months from now on what it all means, because I'll have data. And
look, and the live stream happens on August 23rd next week at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific. It's airing exclusively on your channels with the Whatnot app available on iOS and Android. Before we go, can I play a little game with you called hot? What is it, like hot, cold, or like a mild for some of my favorite things for the McFarlane toys that could possibly get made? Possibly. Let's play a little game. You down for it?
All right. If not, I'll go silent.
Okay. Watchmen figures. Hot, colder, mild.
I'd put that in the mild.
Okay. Peacemaker figures from his series.
I'd put that in the mild too. Which basically means that in our big extensive lineup, we've thought about them. But the question is, when can you schedule any of this?
Got it. Zatanna.
I'd probably put her closer to hot.
Yes,
because we've talked about her. I think she has a nice visual look.
Hawk Girl.
Yeah, anything with wings, I'm a big fan of. So yeah,
me too.
We've got Hawkman and different iterations of them. So yes, Hawk Girl has to come along.
The Doom Patrol.
Oh, Doom Patrol. They're cool too.
They are so cool.
So we'll put them at the top end of the middle, medium, whatever you call it. Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you get me a Todd McFarlane made Robot Man, I am all in.
Right? No, that's exactly who I was thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a robot guy too. So
Titans TV series.
There's probably not going to be any coal because everything is dual. Everything is, I think, has a potential value. I mean, if you ask me the 500 worst villain, then probably that's coal. But all of these are either things we've talked about before or good suggestions. So I'd put them in the medium, which basically means they get up on the board.
Well, those are the ones that we'll go for this round. Until next time, I'll ask you some more. I do have one last question for you because I was really excited. This is from my buddy Josh Goldman, who was really into your Star Trek figures. I know there's only a couple that came out, but you had some pretty big plans for a pretty expansive line. Any updates on Star Trek at all?
Star Trek is like any other toy line that you put it out and then you sit back, and if it works and there's a demand for it, then the retailers and or the internet has corners that we can continue to go and make it, right? So that's true with anything. It doesn't matter what the brand is, not exclusive to Star Trek. If people want it, you keep making more of it. If it seems to be soft or not moving at time, then you just go, darn it, right? And you move on. And so, we're always hoping that everything we do works so that we can do more, because you never get all the characters, especially for anything that has an ensemble in it. And you want to basically get a little bit deeper on it. So, yeah, here we go. I mean, we did Ted Lasso. So would we like to get Coach Beard? Sure, but it's going to be dependent on how Ted sells.
Well, one last one for that hot cold game that a lot of people wanted me to ask you was MK1.
It would be cool. It would be cool, a cool retro. But so I will run it up the post, because you have to once you. I mean, all of these you have to go get licensed for. Right?
Sure.
I mean, some of the ones you're talking about, which is DC Multiverse, I already have that.
Yeah.
So I can just go into the vault. I don't have to sort of go get a contract. MK1, I would have to go and get a new contract for it, but it's a good suggestion.
Todd, I always love talking to you. I hope we can do this again sometime after the Whatnot auction. I'd love to talk to you whenever you have time, man. And again, I'll be looking
after the auction, like I said, will be interesting to do the autopsy of like, how did it work? What were the pros and what were the cons, right? And again, and then what you do is just becomes a learning experience, and then you move it to, hey, the next time we do something, then with whatnot, let's do more of this and less of that, and then you start to fine tune anything. This is the same with any job, business, whatever else. Everybody does the exact same thing, right?
Todd, if you can put that Batman 6-pack box on the auction, I will be there bidding as much as I possibly can for that thing. I flipped my mind when I saw that. I was like, dude, that thing is so gorgeous, and I got to buy two, one to rock and one to stock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those just beautiful work, man. Thank you so much for your time, Todd. I appreciate it.
All right, you be good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. We'll talk soon.